Hey everyone, and welcome to Tony for Myriad Truths. I mean, Tony for you. Izanagi and Izanami are important figures to Japanese mythology, and are integral to the plots of many SMT and Persona games. A cornerstone of Japanese history, being the creator gods of the world, and a main plot point for the original Digital Devil story. From nothing came the first deities and all creation afterwards. Japanese culture is a fascinating topic with an extremely long history, but the creation myth is something not many people know intimately. Let's dive deep into the beginnings of Shintoism and learn about the myriad gods of Japan. Shintoism is Japan's oldest religion, and its core beliefs are worshipping beings known as kami. The word kami is often translated to God in English, but it isn't entirely correct to assume that kami are comparable to gods of other religions, such as Yahweh, Vishnu, Zeus, what have you. Kami are more like spirits, and don't even have to be powerful per se. Kami are supernatural entities that are believed to inhabit things. Anything really, which explains as to why there are so many yokai in Japanese myth that are just household items like umbrellas, lanterns, and even walls. When a human dies, they even join the ranks of the kami and in turn are worshipped by those still living as ancestors. The kami can represent anything and have a wide range of personalities, such as the kami of Mount Fuji, Oyamatsumi, or the snake deities Yato no Kami. No matter what they represent, they're not inherently good or evil. The kami are one with nature and are manifestations of musubi, the interconnecting energy of the universe. Hidden from sight and residing in a mirror world known as Shinkai, the world of the kami. It's not uncommon for humans to be worshipped as what might be considered gods, like Masakado. All kami that reside on the plane of Shinkai, mirroring our own, are categorized as kunitsukami. The kami born or residing in Takamagahara, the high plane of heaven, are referred to as Amatsukami. These are the deities we'll focus on. Before there was an earth, let alone a Japan to inhabit, we'll go back to the very beginning. When the universe was nothing more than shapeless chaos, sunk in silence, the first particles began moving and making noise. More and more particles started moving, and eventually the lightest of them rose and created the clouds and the plane of heaven, which was to be called Takamagahara. The particles that were not as light could not rise higher, and they formed a huge landmass which was to be called Earth. When Takamagahara was formed, the first three kami appeared. Forgive my pronunciation, please. Ame no Minakanushi, Lord of the August Center of Heaven. Takami Musubi, High Creator. And Kami Musubi, who lacks a cool title like the others. These kami appeared within the newly created heaven, and did not have a gender, memories, or idea of what was going on. Immediately after their appearance, they went into hiding. More gods appeared over time, all with equally difficult to pronounce names, but the final kami of what was to be known as the 7 divine generations were Izanagi and Izanami. By the time Izanagi and Izanami were created, the other kami viewed the universe and wished it to be something more than just clouds in heaven and a giant sea on earth. These kami assigned the newly born siblings Izanagi and Izanami to sit atop a heavenly bridge and bring order to the world. To help them in this endeavor, the primordial kami gave Izanagi a divine spear named Ame no Nuboko, and with it he stirred the waters of the earth. Izanagi stirred and stirred to add depth to the ocean, and when the spear was brought up, the mud that fell off the tip created an island called Onogoroshima. It was this island where Izanagi and Izanami fell in love, decided to marry, and start a family together. I know it might look like they're siblings, so them getting married seems odd, but they're kami, so it's not that weird. I think. On the island of Onogoro, they began their life together by starting the marriage ceremony. In those times, the marriage ceremony involved them circling around a sacred pillar with both kami moving in separate directions and exchanging vows. Izanami spoke first in this rite, which was not proper according to the people of that time, and due to this, their first child was born horribly deformed. Their first son was born with no bones in his body and was referred to as the leech child. The child, named Hiruko, was placed on a boat and abandoned, but grew up to be the patron kami of fishermen and one of the many kami who represent good fortune. Many more children were born from Izanagi and Izanami, but time and time again they gave birth to deformed and ghastly offspring. Distraught, they consulted the elder kami in heaven and were told to repeat their marriage ceremony again. Izanagi spoke first in their second marriage, and their offspring were blessed. Izanami gave birth to hundreds of kami with a variety of domains, kami of the wind, mountains, seas, and nature. Of the elements mentioned, you may have noticed one missing. The kami of fire, Kagutsuchi, was born from the womb of Izanami, and she was horribly burned in the process. As she cried, her tears birthed many kami as well, but she ultimately succumbed to her injuries and died. Izanagi, furious, took up his sword and cut Kagutsuchi into pieces, creating many lesser deities in the process. Revenge did not bring his lover back, and so, grief-stricken, he steeled himself to journey into the underworld, Yomi, in search of Izanami. After reaching the plane of the dead, he was made aware that his wife ate of the fruit of the dead and could not leave until she was ready. There would come a time where she was able to leave, however. This was a promise made from the Lord of Yomi himself. Izanagi was to be patient and not lay eyes on Izanami until she was ready. He would have her back in due course. He was immortal after all. Izanagi waited for a time, but his patience ran out and he plunged himself into the underworld once more to forcibly take Izanami back with him. To illuminate his way, Izanagi took the comb that bound his long hair and set it alight to lead his way through to his wife. This was the biggest mistake he could have made. Gazing upon Izanami, he found a rotting form of flesh with maggots and foul creatures running over her ravaged body. Izanagi finally realized why he was not meant to see his wife before their time of reunion. Filled with fear, he abandoned his wife and ran back to Earth. Izanami was justifiably upset at her husband's lack of consideration, and realizing he would never want her back again, sent Shikome, meaning foul women, and the Kami of Thunder, Yakuza no Ikazuchi, sometimes referred to as Narukami, to chase after him. When Izanagi made it to the surface, he blocked the entrance to Yomi with a large stone, and Izanami was trapped. Realizing that she would never be taken back by Izanagi, she screamed that if she were to be left behind, 1,000 humans would die every day. Izanagi furiously replied that he would give life to 1,500 humans every day in turn, and left. To cleanse himself from the taint of Yomi, Izanagi performed a ritual of purification in the nearest river. While he bathed, he wept softly at the realization that he may never see his wife again. From the tears in his left eye came the Kami of the sun, Amaterasu. Her brightness illuminated the sky and filled the world with light. From the tears in his right eye came the Kami of the moon, Tsukuyomi. His dull glow enchanted the night sky. Finally, from the drippings of Izanagi's nose came the Kami of storms and destruction, Susanoo. His wild nature brought constant change to the world. Despite what you might think of each Kami, none were good or evil in a traditional sense, but Izanagi looked upon them with pride and referred to them as the three noble children. In Shin Megami Tensei, Izanagi and Izanami are barely utilized, sadly. The most notable mention is in Nocturne, where after defeating all the boss rematches in the Labyrinth of Amala, he rewards the player with an extra press turn, then urges you to pursue the path of creation, much like he and Izanami did in their life. Izanagi and Izanami play a much larger role in the Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei novel series, where Akemi Nakajima is the reincarnation of Izanagi, and over the course of the story, he regains memories of his past life as the creator deity. The heroine of the book, Yumiko Shirasagi, is the reincarnation of Izanami. She ends up possessed by the creator Kami and is recognized for her innate power. There's a lot to get into with the books, so I won't go too deep into it, but it is worth mentioning their appearance and importance in them. Izanagi and Izanami's main appearance in the series is none other than Persona 4, where Yu Narukami, named after the Thunder Kami that chased Izanagi out of Yomi, has Izanagi as his other self. Actually, Izanagi is the persona of Yu Narukami and Toru Adachi in two very different forms. Izanagi, used by Yu Narukami, is supposed to represent Izanagi in the beginning, with limitless potential and only his will holding him back. Toru Adachi, on the other hand, has Magatsu Izanagi, meaning Calamity Izanagi. This represents him facing strife in his life, and instead of overcoming it, he fell into darkness and taint. Magatsu Izanagi is Izanagi before he washed away Yomi's taint, and his only aim is to destroy. Yu Narukami awakens to the original Izanagi only to face his own trials and strife, from which, depending on the player, he can rise to action with a righteous cause and awaken to his true persona, Izanagi no Okami, meaning Great Deity Izanagi. After awakening, Yu Narukami faces the true final boss, Izanami, in all her taint and filth in his true purified form. Overcoming all his trials, he unleashes the ultimate attack, Myriad Truths. Izanami finally relents in her aim to destroy the world, as she recognizes a human tread the same path a great Kami once did, and returns to Yomi. Marie in Persona 4 is a character that's enigmatic at first, but as time goes on you find out that she is, in fact, Izanami. Though it's more accurate to say that Izanami is an aspect of her. Her real name is Kusumi no Okami, and is the vessel for all aspects of godlike entities you fight in the game, like Ame no Sagiri, the first final boss, and the Kami of Fog. Much like Izanagi has many different aspects personified through individuals, Marie is the physical vessel that holds the different aspects of Izanami. She lost her memories in the beginning of the game thanks to the tainted aspect ripping away from her body, but she drops hints as to her true identity, even carrying the comb Izanagi used to light his way through Yomi. Yu Narukami ends up saving her in the true ending, despite her wishing to sacrifice herself in the Hollow Forest, and lives a normal life. She may even have her lost lover Izanagi back in some way, though that's up to the player. A sweet ending to the tale of these two deities. That covers Izanagi and Izanami, and also the creation myth of Japan too. Certainly an interesting pair in mythology, being so closely tied to the shaping of everything on Earth. This was a highly requested topic, and after learning more about them I can see why. Japanese mythology really is interesting. Special thanks to AutoShift, Frankie Stoned, Heavenly Potato, John, Mr. 8 Eyes, Nathaniel Conley, VideoGamer75, and many more for supporting the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to support, check the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next Tony for You. Have a good one.